Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. Entry requirements into the United States have changed drastically in order to stave off further COVID-19 importations. This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Wednesday, 27th October 2021. Details when we return.
Hubbard's big promotion is back. Live free for 1 year. Spend $50 or more in any Hubbard's department and receive a chance to win big prizes every month. Property or vehicle insurance for 1 year. Free internet, cable and data for 1 year. Free fuel for 1 year. Free cooking gas for 1 year. Free electricity for 1 year. Free drinks for 1 year. Extra cash account and the big free groceries for 1 year. Promotion runs from April 1st to September 30th, 2021. Live free for 1 year with Hubbard's in association with Solgas, Flow, Grenadian General Insurance, Carib Brewery, Coca-Cola, Grenada Bottling Company, Grenlec, Communal Cooperative Credit Union, Dutch Lady Milk, Promo, Danny and Supreme. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back. If you are in Trinidad and Tobago or anywhere else for that matter, and you are unvaccinated against COVID-19 and want to fly to the United States for a brief vacation or for a short work trip under present U.S. travel requirements, you have another 2 weeks to get ready for your trip. That's because early next month, all international travelers to the United States will be required to be vaccinated against COVID-19 with vaccines approved by the FDA or those on the emergency listing of the World Health Organization. TV6's Jewel Brown reports.
Since January 26th of this year, the provision of negative COVID-19 viral tests taken within 3 calendar days of travel was all that has been required of all unvaccinated and vaccinated airline passengers to the United States. But in a presidential proclamation issued on Monday, October 25th, U.S. President Joe Biden said he has determined that it is in the interests of the United States to move away from the country-by-country restrictions previously applied during the pandemic and to adopt an air travel policy that relies primarily on vaccination to advance the safe resumption of international air travel to the United States. And in keeping with President Biden's proclamation, the U.S. State Department issued a COVID-19 travel advisory dated Monday, October 25th, which said that effective November 8th, all non-immigrant, non-citizen air travelers to the United States will be required to be fully vaccinated and to provide proof of vaccination status prior to boarding an airplane to the United States. The State Department said exceptions will be extremely limited as follows: children under 18, people medically unable to receive the vaccine, emergency travelers who do not have timely access to a vaccine. The State Department also said humanitarian exemptions to this order will be granted on an extremely limited basis. President Biden said his proclamation suspends the entry of unvaccinated non-citizen non-immigrants except in limited circumstances, and it ensures that the entry of unvaccinated non-citizen non-immigrants is consistent with applicable health and safety determinations made by the director of the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. President Biden's proclamation also stipulates that unvaccinated persons permitted to enter the U.S. must provide proof of having arranged to self-quarantine or self-isolate after arriving in the United States. In keeping with President Biden's proclamation, the CDC said that for purposes of entry into the United States, vaccines accepted will include those approved or authorized by the U.S. Federal Drug Administration or World Health Organization emergency use listing vaccines. Among the WHO emergency use listing vaccines are those presently available in Trinidad and Tobago, including the Sinopharm Beijing vaccine from China. Interestingly, President Biden's proclamation states any non-citizen who is a non-immigrant who is not fully vaccinated against COVID-19 and is permitted to enter the United States by air travel must agree to become fully vaccinated against COVID-19 within 60 days of arriving in the United States, within some other time frame as determined by the Director of the CDC, or as soon as medically appropriate as determined by the Director of the CDC, and must provide proof of having arranged to become fully vaccinated against COVID-19 after arriving in the United States. Certain exceptions are allowed, such as the non-citizen's intended stay is sufficiently brief as determined by the Director of the CDC. President Biden said his proclamation is effective at 12:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on November 8th. However, it does not apply to persons aboard a flight scheduled to arrive in the United States that departed prior to 12:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on November 8th. The CDC said fully vaccinated air passengers, regardless of citizenship, will continue to be required to show a negative pre-departure COVID-19 test taken no more than 3 days before they board their flight to the United States. Jewel Brown, TV6 News.
Meantime, patients who are not fully vaccinated are accounting for the majority of COVID-19 cases in the intensive care units in the public health care system, and it's causing alarm for the authorities. Over the weekend, the intensive care unit in the parallel healthcare system was around 74%. Adding to this concern for health officials is what seems to be a trend showing increased transmission in the community. Alicia Boucher of TV6 News has more in this report.
At this time, only approximately 41% of the population is fully vaccinated or very close to attaining that status. Principal Medical Officer of Institutions, Dr. Miriam Abdul-Richard, says the demand for ICU beds has risen despite an overall increase of 30%.
And we did increase on a phased basis by reallocating resources and adding resources the number of intensive care unit beds by 25%. The Honorable Minister indicated this on Saturday. Over the weekend, we again increased capacity to manage the increased demand for beds. But this AM, the demand has exceeded the supply.
The country's vaccination status is a serious cause for concern when matched against the trend being seen in the ICU. According to Dr. Abdul Richards, at the Couva Hospital, 21 out of the 22 patients in ICU are unvaccinated, and the unit is at 100% capacity.
At the Arima General Hospital, all 10 beds were occupied in the ICU department yesterday. An additional 2 beds were operationalized based on demand, so all 12 patients in the intensive care unit are not fully vaccinated.
Similar situations are being seen across the parallel healthcare system, including at the Augustus Long and Point Fortin hospitals, where 8 out of 9 patients and 4 out of 4 patients in ICU are not fully vaccinated.
So this morning, 96% of patients in the intensive care units across Trinidad in our hospitals are not fully vaccinated.
Dr. Abdul Richards notes that there are contingencies to transition a few more beds. However, the burden on the ICU is having a trickle-down effect on the accident and emergency departments in the traditional healthcare system, where critically ill patients awaiting transfer are being ventilated.
As of 8:30 a.m. this morning, there were 27 severely and critically ill COVID-19 patients awaiting transfer into the parallel healthcare system. Of those, 9 patients, representing 33%, were of ICU or intensive care unit level.
She says none of the 9 patients are fully vaccinated. But this is happening simultaneously to what epidemiologist Dr. Avery Hines says is an apparent upward trend, where for the past 3 weeks increases have been seen. According to him, if the daily positive figures continue as is, it could exceed the totals for July, August, and September.
So we're sounding the warning at this point that there is indication that there may be a potential increase that we are observing, and this may very well be as a result of the knowledge that we have that there is the new and more transmissible Delta variant circulating in the population.
Health officials are pleading with the population to get vaccinated and to continue ensuring strict adherence to the public health guidelines. Alicia Boucher, TV6 News.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. In another item out of Trinidad and Tobago, that country has set a specific goal to reduce overall emissions over the next 9 years. An announcement comes ahead of the United Nations Climate Change Conference, which kicks off at the end of the month in Scotland. Details in this Energy Matters segment with Anselm Gibbs of TV6 News.
Trinidad and Tobago is aiming to reduce overall emissions from namely the power generation, transportation, and industrial sectors by 15% by the year 2030. That's according to Energy Minister Stuart Young.
Which in absolute terms is an equivalent to 103 million tons of carbon dioxide. The estimated cost of meeting this objective is US $2 billion, which is expected to be met partly through domestic funding and conditional on international financing, including through the Green Climate Fund.
Minister Young was speaking at the pre-United Nations Climate Change Conference, or COP26 seminar, on transitioning to the green economy. And he got into specifics about transportation.
Trinidad and Tobago also committed to unconditionally reduce its public transportation emissions by 30%, or 1.7 million tons of carbon dioxide compared to 2013 levels by December 31st, 2030.
Monday's seminar was hosted by the United Nations Resident Coordinator's Office in conjunction with the British High Commission. And as the countdown to COP26 continues, countries are being asked to be more ambitious in their approaches to reducing emissions.
Come to COP26 either already with a plan and to say this is our adaptation plan. This is what's also known as an adaptation communication, which tells the world this is what we in our country need to do in order to adapt our lifestyles, our economy, our biodiversity in order to be ready for the climate change that's already here and that is coming.
COP26 takes place in Glasgow, Scotland from October 31st to November 12th. I am Anselm Gibbs.
After conducting extensive inquiries into the veracity of a voice note being circulated on social media, which cited attempted kidnappings of girls and young women for human trafficking purposes, the Department of Home Affairs in St. Lucia says it has not been able to find any evidence to support the claims. Don Nicholas of DBS News World reports.
The voice note, which has gone viral on the social media, makes reference to frequent cases of missing girls, causing speculation about the existence of a human trafficking ring that may be posing a threat to the young women. Notwithstanding that, the Department of Home Affairs has raised concerns about any possible threats and is encouraging the source of the voice note to contact the police or the human trafficking hotline at 847 with any information that can lead to the capture of the perpetrators. Meanwhile, members of the public have been giving their views on the subject.
They can raise more awareness to the girls, as to the ways to protect themselves, and or guidelines, or they could have a group, they can have groups educating them, also have people advocating for that as well, so in helping them to protect themselves, or if they feel or they sense like something is, they have an irking, or they have a sense like they have been in that predicament, that situation, places they could go where they could reach out to somebody before they end up in that situation.
I feel very bad about it because I have granddaughters growing up, and what else? And these people that kidnapping the young children, the young girls, I find when they catch them, they should just do away with them. Do not let them go out on the streets anymore.
The department is urging the public to look out for warning signs of human trafficking. They include someone taking advantage of another's vulnerability through coercion, threats, restraint of movement and communication, child pornography, and commercial sexual exploitation. Victims may even be sold to other traffickers or moved between several countries.
They need to be in jail. Because what they don't want for their mother, their children, and their nieces, they should not like it for nobody else.
Well, you know, especially in the time of Sodom and Gomorrah, those things will happen. And God destroyed the world for that same thing. But it is not good, it's not something that helps neither, because especially we're using our young children, they're getting them spoiled, and different things just happen to them. Sometimes they just even go missing also. But that thing have to stop. And especially, you know, there's places they're doing it in St. Lucia, in Hill Holes, but those things must stop. Because especially our children is spoiling. And remember, God destroyed a whole city for the sake of those things.
Human trafficking earns global profits of $150 billion a year, 99 billion of which comes from commercial sexual exploitation. For the DBS News World, I am Don Nicholas.
Did you know that your friends and family can now shop at the Food Fair from anywhere in the world, and you can receive here in Grenada? The Food Fair and GrenadaMarket.com now make it possible through secure online shopping and personalized customer service. Simply send your loved ones a list of your preferred items or let them fill an online basket, and the items will be available for pickup or delivery. Visit GrenadaMarket.com or thefoodfair.gd today for more details. The new norm. Spread the news.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.